Bartosz Groszek, he is the championship leader. He is very well known, and yeah, last year he made a debut in the Polish round at home, and then he scored podiums all the way up until the end of the season. He was also doing well here in at Grobnik. However, it was no victory for him here, so he will be aiming for the first victory at this track this time out, but he will face a very difficult competition because it's the former Eastern European TCR champion Milovan Vesnic, who had quite an incident last season here, thanks to Michal Makeš, who lost his car under braking into the first corner, or let's say the second corner, to be a little more specific. It resulted in a pretty dramatic incident, and also pretty dramatic discussions afterwards in the paddock. But Milovan Vesnic, he's back now, having missed a couple of rounds, and he is definitely back up to speed in his Audi RS3. Bartosz Groszek did 129.5, Milovan Vesnic 129.6, so they were just 1/10 of a second apart from each other, and Milovan Vesnic lines up his Audi on the front row of the grid. Behind them, as already mentioned, Petr Semerad in third and Žarko Knego in fourth. Sebastian Steibl puts his older Cupra Leon on row number 3 in fifth, and alongside him there will be Petr Čížek. He has been really unlucky so far with, let's say, the technical shape of his car. Yesterday in one of the free practices, the front splitter went loose, which ended the free practice halfway through it, and Petr Čížek had yet more issues earlier on today in qualifying when one of the wheel bearings was faulty, and that only then meant 6th place on the grid for the Czech driver. Behind him, Václav Janík in 7th, and Radim Adamek, who is debuting the brand new, absolutely fresh from the factory, new generation Audi RS3. There it is in the black and yellow livery. So that's the one, that's the beauty, that's the one that everyone in the paddock admires and has been admiring since Thursday. We'll see how that one goes. It's absolutely incredibly fast down the straights. Let's see if Radim Adamek manages to put that advantage to use. He lines up 8th on the grid. Behind him, Tomáš Řepecký in his VW Golf GTI. That's already a pretty old machine. Alongside him, another local driver, Grega Šimonović, in the older Cupra, and then in 11th, another Audi, the older Audi RS3, driven by Robert Pravdic. Everyone back from the formation lap. We have not lost anyone. Would be really frustrating to have done so, and now we are waiting for the green flag. The green flag is in the air, so it's all set for the race starting procedure. So the red lights are on, everybody's ready, red lights are off, and we are racing at Grobnik. A terrible getaway from Bartosz Groszek, who does not even manage to get going. Oh, he does, but he's dropping all the way to the last place. Milovan Vesnic leading into the opening corner from Žarko Knego, and Petr Čížek already up into third. So everything mixed up right after the first opening tens of meters. What a drama at the start of the TCR Eastern European race here at Grobnik. And Bartosz Groszek has dropped all the way down to the last place right at the start. So that's a rotten bit of luck for the Polish driver, who will have all the 40 kilograms as the performance ballast for the next round, having won the qualifying. But he is now basically having to start from the last place. He's now dealing with his teammate who's letting him through, Radim Adamek, letting Bartosz Groszek into, what is it, 7th, 8th place maybe. But it's Milovan Vesnic leading the way from the local guy, Žarko Knego, who will be definitely aiming at least for the podium place. But now victory is possible on the home soil. Petr Čížek behind him, also Sebastian Steibl and Petr Semerad, who's dropped down to 5th. Petr Semerad, he had to take a terribly evasive action there, as the car in front of him very nearly stalled. So Petr Semerad down the inside on Sebastian Steibl, already towards the end of the opening lap, and up into fourth the Czech driver goes. Now he's got his compatriot right in front of him, Petr Cížek, in that red and black Cupra, number 76. Sorry, number 14. Sorry, number 14, but the number 76 still on the bonnet. Milovan Vesnic leading the way after the dramatic opening lap of the Eastern European TCR here at Grobnik from Žarko Kněgo. Petr Cížek set the fastest lap of the opening, well, sequence of the race, and there is Bartosz Grošek. Behind his countryman Tomáš Řepecký. This should come rather easy for him, and Tomáš Řepecký is sharing the garage with the Adidas Racing team as well. He was one of the bystanders and onlookers admiring the new Audi in passionate discussions with his countryman Bartosz Grošek, and he's now been overtaken by the Polish driver. Bartosz Grošek already together with Václav Janík. This is a fight for sixth on the road. We've still got just over 22 minutes left on the clock. The race has virtually just begun, so there's still plenty of time to make up for the lost ground at the start of the race, but it's going to be an uphill struggle for Bartosz Grošek. Václav Janík right in front of him now as they re-enter the start and finish straight. He will get slipstream, but there's another fight, I believe, between Semerád and maybe even Cížek. Yes, Semerád through on Petr Cížek, up into third place. Petr Cížek was trying to go defensive, but all was done even before they reached the braking zone into the first corner. Bartosz Grošek still stuck behind Janík. And Žarko Kněgo, he's trying to get in touch with the race-leading Milovan Vesnic, but the Serbian driver making it all more complicated for Žarko Kněgo as he's just set the fastest lap of the race, 131.428. Kněgo was not by that much slower, actually, 131.54, so just about 1/10 apart from each other, but still, Vesnic is not letting Kněgo into any sort of opportunity. There is Semerád back up into third, having dropped to eighth as he avoided Grošek. Let's see that starting action yet again. And Bartosz Grošek, he was so lucky not to have been collected by anyone, and he got going again, but he had to go all the way from the last place. And that promoted Milovan Vesnic immediately into the lead of the race. Žarko Kněgo into second, and Petr Semerád, as he had to avoid the Audi, he lost a lot of momentum right as he got going, and that's what dropped him into fifth, but now he's up to third. There is Vesnic leading the race after three laps. 131.6 for Vesnic. Kněgo did 131.9, so he was by some 0.3 of a second slower. Semerád also 131.6, so keeping the similar pace as the race leader, but Bartosz Grošek 131.1. He's just set the fastest lap of the race, and he's also already dealt with Václav Janík. Up into fifth he goes. Sorry, up into sixth. But now he's side by side with Sebastian Steibl as they make their way around turn 5. The left-hander. Now the hidden S's towards the back end of the track, and Bartosz Grošek, he's now trying to get in touch with Petr Cížek. And Petr Cížek knows for himself how it feels to be left stranded on pole position on the starting grid at Grobnik. Exactly the same thing happened to him last year. Luckily for him, well, although it's a bit cruel to say it this way, there was a big crash just a couple of meters behind the start, and the race was red flagged back then, and the starting sequence got repeated, which put Petr Cížek back on pole position for a second attempt, which went much better. Still, Petr Cížek is waiting for the first victory in the Eastern European TCR. It's got to come really soon, because the pace is still very good. Maybe he'll need a little sharper elbows at times. The pace is definitely there in the brand new Cupra. Well, no longer brand new, but let's say the new Cupra, as it's already dealt with the teething trouble and the child illnesses. There is Milovan Vesnic, holding on firmly to the race lead. Milovan Vesnic, he has been around for some time already, and we still remember his winning days. He was the Eastern European TCR champion back in 2019. He also won the Central European Zone D4 category back in 2015, and all the way back in 2005 he was the Serbian touring car champion. Then in 2020, so in the year following his crown, or his, let's say, coronation, he was beaten by Dusan Borkovic in the COVID-shortened season that actually started here at Grobnik 2 years ago. And Dusan Borkovic managed to win absolutely every single race of that season, earn himself the crown on his way back to international TCRs. Last year, that was the year of Michal Makeš, who spent the season fighting with Tomáš Pekas. Bartosz Groszek diving down the inside because Petr Čížek left the door wide open. That was not even an overtaken attempt at first, but Petr Čížek went so wide, unfortunately, that Bartosz Groszek simply told him, okay, I'm going to have that one, thank you very much. So up into fourth, Bartosz goes. We have 15 minutes left on the clock now as Bartosz Groszek earned fourth place in this race and is now on his way to catch up with these guys. Žarko Knego already has Petr Semerád all over him, so he's having to check his rearview mirrors every now and then. Petr Semerád looking very racy indeed, and he's now using the slipstream along the back straight, lining up for the inside line, and that was textbook stuff from Petr Semerád, stealing second from the local hero. So the only driver left further up the road is Milovan Vesnic. That might be a little tougher cookie, but we'll see that a little later on. Now let's see what Petr Semerád can do, and also who's managing their tires the best, actually, because still it's incredibly hot. The temperature has already risen to 37 degrees Celsius. Tomáš Repecký having some sort of trouble. The right rear wheel does not seem to be aligned terribly well. but that's just my first assumption. But whatever it is, Tomáš Řepecký is pulling up at the side of the track, and it seems to be it for his race. Well, let's see if that results in a safety car or not. Petr Semerád up into second, we know that, but Bartosz Groszek is also lining up for a move on the Croatian. There they go, and they're incredibly fast. Žarko Knego can feel them coming. Is there anything he can do to stop Bartosz Groszek? Bartosz Groszek having to choose the outside line. There was a yellow flag being waved. Ooh, there was a yellow flag. But it was sort of waved, sort of half waved, just as if the track marshal wasn't even sure whether to wave it or not. It was sort of, yeah, yellow, okay, no, keep racing, guys. I didn't really understand the gesture from the marshal, but either way, Bartosz Groszek is through, and so is Petr Čížek. And that was surprising because Žarko Knego was somewhat really slow down the pit straight. That didn't even look like a proper maneuver or proper fight between the two Cupras. But most importantly, Čížek is through. Well, Milovan Vesnic is definitely in a very, very good position because he has been leading. He has opened a 4-second gap already, and basically the circumstances of the race so far have allowed him to choose his own pace, to actually be kind to his tyres in this heat. So there is Milovan Vesnic, and he's got the lead very firmly in his hands. Yes, Petr Semerád and Bartosz Groszek might get closer, but who is going to keep the tyres alive all the way until the end of the race? That's the big question right now, because it's incredibly hot, and the tyres are almost melting on the track surface. So Petr Semerád already having to go defensive, and Žarko Knego in further trouble. That car does not work. That's a terrible, terrible bit of luck for the local driver, and more so because the race grid, or the starting grid order for the race number 2 is going to get decided by the results of this race. Yes, with certain number of positions reversed, it's usually between 6 and 10, but now Žarko Knego is dropping towards the back end, and he will be praying to actually stay in this race. Black and white flag warning for track limits for car number 17. That is Grega Šimunović. He's currently in 10th. Well, Tomáš Řepecký, he's out of contention, so there's only 10 cars left on the road, which means that if Žarko Knego drops all the way to the back and somehow manages to finish the race, or even if he doesn't, he might still get lucky and get back towards the front of the grid for race number 2. There was Tomáš Řepecký, so somehow he managed to get his Golf going again, and there's a fight for second. Bartosz Groszek trying a late move on Petr Semerád. There is touch. Petr Semerád didn't really leave him that much space, but they are still running side by side along the start and finish straight. This is going to get vicious between the two. The i30 Hyundai still seems to be a little faster down the straights, but Bartosz Groszek down the braking zone, down the inside, and up into second he goes. So Semerád tried to put to use the top speed of his i30, which is still around 5 to 10 kilometers an hour better than the Audi at various places. One thing is along the start and finish straight, the other one is the back straight, because you are basically climbing back from the valley, and we did have a chat about that in the paddock, and it seems that there still is around about 10 kph difference between these two cars, but even despite that, Bartosz Groszek has now managed to win that second place from the Czech driver. Let's see that again, and again it did not even look like an overtaking opportunity at first, but Petr Semerád left the door open. Bartosz Groszek stuck the foot in and simply invited himself. Sometimes that's what you have to do in the touring car racing. It is a contact sport, make no mistake, it definitely is, and sometimes if there is no space left for you, you simply have to make it for yourself. Petr Semerád was aggressive in his defense through the quick left-hander king on that previous lap. But that was not enough in the end. But Bartosz Groszek, having dropped all the way to the last, is now back up to second, which all in itself is really impressive. But now he has got 5 seconds to Milovan Vesnic, and we can still expect that Milovan Vesnic has got a little more tyre life left in his car, having been simply cruising in his Audi. So even though I believe that Bartosz Groszek is now going to have a better pace than the Serbian, is it going to be enough? Because as they say in motorsport, and it's one of the typical cliches, but somehow they still work. One thing is to catch the opponent, and a completely different thing is to actually overtake him. There is more dust somewhere through the last corners. Someone has been making trips off the track and exploring the limits, behind the limits. Sebastian Steibl in front of Václav Janík. We have now entered a little calmer phase of the race, so we are even able to get interested in scraps for 5th place. This is also an important one, make no mistake about that. Václav Janík, he's been to the podium a couple of times this season, and if we check the standings overall, Václav Janík is actually all the way up in 5th in the standings. Sebastian Steibl, he is 7th in the championship. They have Tomáš Řepecký between them. But Tomáš Řepecký is not going to score points today, very probably. Just over 5 minutes left in this race. There is the race leader, Milovan Vesnic. He did 1:32.7 last time out. Bartosz Groszek 1:32.3. Semerád 1:32.4. Čížek 1:32.7. Similar pace for the top 4. And this is exactly where Milovan can put his big advantage to use. 4.3 seconds the last time out. Now it's dropped to 3.5. So Bartosz Groszek has been much faster than the Serbian, but is this going to be enough? 1:32.9 by Vesnic. Groszek did 1:32 dead, and he's still on it. There was a lot of tyre squeals somewhere. We heard it from the microphones, and ooh, is this going to be enough or not? Milovan does not seem to be that far away from Groszek, but we only have just over 4 minutes left in this race, and whatever is then left, wherever we find ourselves when the time is up. So this still might be really interesting, and I would still not discard the battle for victory, let's be honest. But it is a long shot, it is definitely a long shot. And Bartosz Grosek now, well, I don't want to say that he has got nothing to lose, but he can still try. He's going to get 40 kilos for the next race, whatever happens in the rest of this weekend, because he won the qualifying. Maybe if he'd known that he would stall on the grid, he wouldn't have put that much effort into his qualifying lap. But yeah, that's the perks of being blisteringly fast. .4 is the gap between Vesnic and Grosek. Grosek was now a full second faster than Vesnic. This is amazing. Somehow, Bartosz Grosek in the heat of 37 degrees of Celsius and having just passed everybody on the track, everybody but Milovan Vesnic, somehow he still has enough life left in his tires and he's still managing to motivate his tires to do a couple of more laps in a brutal tempo, really. There is still a beautiful fight between Steibl and Janik. And across the line we go again. And, well, honestly, I do not know what Bartosz Grosek has promised his tires for Christmas, but I want that as well. Because where is that pace coming from? Vesnic 133.0, he's dropping. Grosek 131.8. Have they told him that this is qualifying or what? And he's 1.3 seconds behind, or was, across the line. And he can sniff the victory. He can see the white Audi right in front of himself. There they are already together. This is already a fight. This is already a fight. And there will be another lap. So just under 1 minute. And Bartosz Grosek is already together with Milovan Vesnic. He's already slipstreaming behind Milovan Vesnic on the back straight. Hard under braking into the hairpin, and there is one more lap to make one move. Milovan Vesnic, yeah. But he's a tough cookie. He's a clever guy, kicking up dust in the air. Trying to play every trick in the book to stop Grosek overtaking him. But now they are really together. 133.2 for Vesnic, 132.2 for Grosek. Another second chopped off the gap, and now there is virtually no gap between them. It hardly stuck a list of paper between these two Audis right now. Bartosz Grosek already showing himself in Vesnic's rearview mirrors. Hello there, coming. Now through the snaky bit. It's now constantly left, right, left, right. Vesnic's tires do not hold, they do not grip that well as the ones on the Adidas Racing's Audi. There they go. Onto the back straight, they are slipstreaming together. But this might be crucial. Somehow Bartosz did not keep the momentum and he's not close enough. What's going to happen on the run down to the finish line? Milovan Vesnic might very well actually do it in the end. So it looked like a no-brainer, but in the end it is Milovan Vesnic victorious on his series return. Amazing stuff And Milovan Vesnic, look at that. He is victorious, and it is a Leicester flag victory, but was not supposed to be one. So that's a bit of a cold shower actually for Bartosz Grosek maybe. He's done a beautiful, beautiful race, and he was right there with Vesnic on that final lap of the race, but somehow through the snaky bit, through those S's, Milovan Vesnic managed to really hit that spot, hit that momentum, and got going to the back straight absolutely perfectly, and didn't really let Bartosz Grosek into any overtaking opportunity in the end. So that was a little anticlimactic, but beautiful victory from Milovan Vesnic in the end. I really did not believe that he would hold it, but he definitely put all his experience to use. So Grosek in the end, having overtaken everybody else, has to settle for second place. Petr Semerád, I'm not sure if they say that, but he played the third fiddle today in the end. Beautiful stuff from Petr Semerád in the opening laps as well, as he first nicely avoided the stalled Audi. Yes, he dropped to fifth, but he was very quickly back into second until the moment when Bartosz Grosek came knocking on his door, and then finishes third on the road. Petr Čížek just under the podium in fourth with the potato medal, as they say. Sebastian Steibl fifth from Václav Janík. Radim Adámek scoring seventh on the debut of his new car. Eighth place goes to Robert Pravdic, behind them Grega Šimonovič, Tomáš Řepecký and Žarko Knego in 11th in the end. So where did it all go wrong for Bartosz Grosek? It was that run through the S's, because he was really, really on it right before that, and it looked like an absolute certainty, but nothing is certain in the motorsport, and first you need to make it across the line, and anything can happen, and all these cliches like that. Either way, Milovan Vesnic, 46 years of age, but he is still as fast as anyone else, and he still has everything it needs, everything you need, and everything it takes to score victories. So he is back to winning ways on his series return, and we are very pleased to see this lovely chap back on top. So Milovan Vesnic victorious here in Croatia from Bartosz Grosek after a beautiful, beautiful drive from the Polish driver, from the championship leader, but he ends up second on the road. Petr Semerád in third, and with that it is a wrap-up for the Eastern European TCR Race 1 in Grobnik.